My name is Vanessa Joseph, and I humbly serve as the chairwoman of the Haitian-American Voter Empowerment Coalition, or HAV. As the daughter of Haitian immigrants, my love for Haitian culture goes well beyond the food, the music, and the language. Just like many of you, I am proud of Haiti's history. I am proud that we were the first independent Black nation, and I am proud that we were the first nation to abolish slavery. Certainly, this was not an easy feat given that our ancestors came from different African tribes, but they genuinely believed that l'union fait la force, and they put aside their differences and focused on a singular essential right, freedom and liberty for all. Today, as a community, we must return to this mindset. We need l'union. Nous besoin l'union plis passe tout l'autre bagay jodi. Our shared interests must come before our differences. It is said that in politics, there can be no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, but only permanent interests. No matter what your party affiliation, your religious beliefs, where you come from, and where you live, we are calling upon you to join in this movement. For far too long, our votes have been fragmented and therefore diluted. Yes, our votes have mattered, but they have not leveraged tangible results for the Haitian community. That is why I am proud to invite you to join the Haitian-American Voter Empowerment Coalition as we work together to carry this movement forward. HAV is the result of a consensus building amongst a myriad of local and national organizations and individuals determined to ensure that the Haitian electorate is informed, empowered, and engaged, and that the votes of the Haitian electorate are valued. There are many ways in which you can work with HAV, and we need community champions across the United States and abroad who can help to motivate Haitian American voters within your locality. But if you don't have much time to volunteer, then we urge you to consider making a contribution to HAV. Of course, politics are expensive, but if each of us makes a small sacrifice and financially contributes to the cause, we can make a significant impact on the upcoming elections and future elections. While we are living in very challenging times as a result of the pandemic, we cannot allow it to distract us from continuing to fight for the causes that matter to us most. After all, bay piti pa chiche, et me en pile chay palou. Change is always possible, but it is up to each generation, each and every single one of us to make it happen. I hope our generation does not only wish to change the status quo, but that we really work to make it happen. Our generational task now is to repeat our ancestors' footprints and their models. L'union fait la force. That being said, I invite you to visit our website at www.havcoalition.org to make your contribution or sign up to join this coalition, our coalition. I thank you so much for your consideration and your commitment to moving our community forward.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Day 4 of the National Alliance for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals, or NAAHP, Haitian-American Candidate Symposium. We know that 2020 is a very important election year, but within our community, we know it's even more important to us because our brothers and, well, for now, it's just our sisters are on those ballots. In spite of the challenges presented by COVID-19, we definitely know that we can't continue to be complacent and cause us to neglect our civic duties. There's just too much at stake. And I want to applaud you both, ladies, for sacrificing yourselves to ensure that the communities, the districts that you want to represent have the representation that they need. And so I'm really grateful that you all also took the time to be here with us. I want to remind everyone that's tuning in, neither NAAHP nor the Haitian-American Voters Empowerment Coalition endorses any candidates. We seek only to provide an opportunity to share their platforms with you. This panel is for you, the viewers, and so please, at any point, please feel free to just ask questions. If you're watching us live, just drop it in the comment box, and throughout the panel, we'll be sure to ask your questions. Once again, my name is Vanessa Joseph, and I will be your moderator for this evening. Ladies, I want to remind you to be mindful of the time because we are trying to our best to avoid anyone from dominating the space, but it will be a nice conversation for about an hour or so we have time. But before we jump into the conversation, please briefly introduce yourself and tell us for which position that you are a candidate. So we'll go ahead and start with Christine.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir. My name is Christine Alexandria Olivo. I am running for Florida's 24th Congressional District.
Narnique.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir as well. My name is Narnique Pierre Grant, and I'm running for School Board of Broward County, the at-large seat, which is all countywide.
Awesome. And Ketley.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ketley Joachin. I reside in the city of North Miami Beach. I am currently running in Group 3 for the November election.
Awesome. I think that it's extremely important that we lay a foundation, right, before we jump deeper into the platforms and the issues. And so please briefly describe the role or the function that this seat that you're running for actually entails so that it kind of informs our discussion later on. So Narnique, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. So the school board member, that is, they have three functions. One is to balance the budget for the district, for the Broward County District Schools. The second is to make policy and implement policy. And the third is to supervise the superintendent. So those are the three main functions that they have. I think the most important and most critical job is the policy job. It affects all our children, and especially our Black and Brown children who get affected the most. And so those are some of the jobs that they have, but the most important job is the policy. Budget too, but the policy does affect us all. So that's the most important for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ketley?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ketley Joachin. And in the city of North Miami Beach, we do not have districting. So that means you're running at large. If you live in the city of North Miami Beach, if you reside in the city of North Miami Beach, you are able to vote for me, whatever section you reside in. But you must understand, there's a lot of people who live in the unincorporated portion. They think that they live in the city of North Miami Beach. In order for you to really know, half of the time we tell the people, if your garbage can is green, you live in the unincorporated Dade. And so therefore, Commissioner Mona's team is the one that makes the decision for your area. A role of the commissioners in North Miami Beach is there's 7 members, a mayor and 6 members, and all of them work together for the betterment of the city. They make decisions for the day-to-day, what's going to happen, but we do have a city manager that goes out there and makes sure that everything gets taken care of. So our job really is to put things together, tell the city manager, this is our wish, and he will go out there and take care of things. But we mostly make sure that the city is taken care of.
Christine?
Yes. So I'm running for a federal position. I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives. I say that my first obligation, my first role is to listen to the people. But the actual role is for me to create legislation on a federal level that will impact our community in a positive way. And on top of that, it's also about advocating and bringing funding back into the community to support the programs that our community really needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So why don't we just jump right in? Christine, we'll go ahead and we'll start with you since you were the last to speak. You're running for Congress. I mean, to start, is this the first time that you've run for office? And if so, or if not, why this seat and why now?
Excellent. Thank you for the question, Vanessa. Yes, this is my first time running. I am a first-time candidate. Why this seat? An article just came out the other day that District 24 is on the top of the list of districts that are not getting the funding, and the needs are not being fulfilled within this community. We are living up under the poverty line. We are uninsured. We are unemployed. So much change needs to happen. And when I decided to run, it was a moment for me to say, where can I affect the most change? And the reason why I'm running now is because now is the time. There's so much going on in our community, and we can look at it and we can say, you know what? It's just going to be too hard for us to get by. This is just too much. Or we can look at it and say, this is our opportunity for a clean slate. Everything's shut down. Things are not operating the way that they were. Let's go in and let's create a government that works for the people. Now is the time. So that's it.
Thank you so much. So Teketli, you're considered one of our community builders. And I suppose that over time, you've seen so many changes within this community. What are some of the additional changes that you'd like to see if elected?
Well, thank you, Vanessa. I would like to thank the NAAHP for putting together this forum, and would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy life to moderate it, and also you two wonderful candidates. I have lived in the city since 1995, not Miami Beach, but Miami-Dade County since 1974, when it was difficult for an immigrant, a Haitian that came here without papers, to go to school. So it falls into when I was raising my daughter and wanted to give her the best life possible. I moved to the city of North Miami Beach from Miami-Dade County. From the time I moved here, we didn't have anyone really in office. I would say that's an immigrant. The only African-American we had was Jacqueline Smith. Rest in peace. She passed away, but she was our one. I've always been an advocate for the community, not just the Haitian community. As a single mother, I was in there in Miami-Dade County Public School advocating and working with Kendrick May, going to Tallahassee under Governor Lawton Charles to change the system to make things better. But when I moved in the city of North Miami Beach, realizing that we didn't have a voice, I went and worked, and we elected 3 commissioners that were of Haitian descent. Then after that, we lost 2 of them, and only one was in office. That was Philip DeRose. And he has retired with his head held high, and he has been someone that we can be so proud of. I think that anyone that's running for office needs to go to Mr. DeRose, because he was the first Haitian in the United States to run for office. So therefore,
is that accurate? Because I heard that there were some other women who ran in other cities that we never mentioned, but I think that
okay, but Mr. DeRose was the first elected that we are aware of.
We need to look that up. I think they were elected.
Okay, we have to look that up. But Mr. DeRose is a role model to us all.
Definitely.
And so therefore, the city has changed quite a bit. City of North Miami Beach is different than most cities. I mean, you have the Haitians, the Jamaicans, you have Jewish, you have the whites, you have a melting pot. And so therefore, it falls into someone that really has been here, has been involved. I didn't just wake up and say, I'm going to run for public office. I have been here getting involved, more or less giving my time on the boards, changing things over the years. And I felt that this is an open seat, Group 3. And I've decided I am the best candidate for it. And I am going to go out there and do the best I can, make sure that we are elected. Because now with COVID-19, this thing has shifted a lot. You haven't seen too many people out there reaching out to our communities, and especially the area where I live, where I reside, which is by the hospital, which is Jackson North. People are complaining they don't see us. They only see us when we come knocking on their doors to ask for their vote. But now with COVID-19, we have a lot of elderlies at home that need assistance. And that's where my family and my friends and my group, we go out there and assist. So I need your vote, and I'm asking for everyone's vote. You can call me. I'm an open book. I have a cell phone that's always been open, 786-252-2479. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So Narnik, we just heard about, how COVID-19 has changed things. And so this question is for you. In these very challenging times, pandemics and all, what do you see as being some of the biggest challenges that Haitian and Haitian American students will face, and how will you address them if elected?
Great question. Thank you, Vanessa. And again, I wanted to thank both Christine and Kitley for being here. It's an honor to be among you ladies. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I believe that most of what our Haitian community is going to face is many of us are not in an area where we, in affluent areas. Most of us are trying to just be, we're middle class and upper middle class. And so one of the things that I noticed that will definitely affect us is the services and resources to those areas. I know that the budget has already, there is some talk about budget cuts coming in, and most of the time the underserved communities are the ones that get cut first, only because the resources, the way that they are set up in the district, you have to work your way down. So when elected, because I'm gonna put that out in the atmosphere, when elected, the goal is to make sure that we, going through the budget, we make sure that we look at the budget with students and teachers driven first, rather than working outside and working our way in, because most of the time the services always look to make sure that we get all these other items that can be on hold to get paid. And try to work with our individual communities. The goal is to try to get those communities that have the highest amount of Haitian American children and Haitian American families to get the services that they need. One of the main issues in the district is the lack of translating or people of Haitian descent that works in the district to be able to translate for our families. And so one of the things that that is on the top of my agenda is to make sure that we hire those people and put them in places where they are effective. As you all know, which is great, I'm not saying nothing bad about the Hispanic group, but they are very organized, and they have people strategically put in places to make sure that their people get some of the things we need. And I'm trying to galvanize and work to make sure that our community is just as represented. And so the goal is to make sure that, I don't leave anyone behind. So we're charged with that responsibility. When elected, the main goal for me is to make sure that the Haitian community has a specific, and I want to be deliberate about that, a specific part in the school district where any Haitian person, no matter where they are, whether they can speak the English properly or not, that they have a spot to go to. And I want to be very deliberate about that. And I have not wavered. I've gone on record saying that, and it's important. We need representation, and we need a seat at the table. There's never been a Haitian American on the board. And we have in Broward County about between 30 and 35,000 students who are from Haitian descent. Another important thing that Haitians all should know, in Broward County, we make the #1 Caribbean group. We beat out the Jamaicans, beat out the Trinidadians. We're #1 in Broward County. So we need to we must make sure that we have representation.
Absolutely. So Christine, this is a Haitian and Haitian American platform. And we know that immigration is a very important issue for many in our community. You're running for a congressional seat, so you'll actually have the power to do something on this issue. What is your plan as it relates to immigration?
Well, the first thing that we need to do in order to make sure that our Haitian Americans or our immigrants can sleep at night in January when it comes time to renew TPS, and we have almost 50,000 of our Haitian immigrants at risk of losing it, we need to make sure that it is renewed. Not only that, we need to make sure that it is extended. We cannot always be going through this. Is it going to be renewed? Is it not? We our Haitian immigrants belong here. They work hard. They contribute to the economy, and they contribute to the culture and the life of the United States of America. So my goal, my number one goal as far as immigration is concerned, is securing TPS.
But do you think that it just stops at TPS for us, or is there more that you would be able to do?
No, there's definitely more. We need a clear path to citizenship. I have family members, okay, that were born in Haiti. They moved here when they were 3. Now they're in their 20s. They still are not citizens. When other immigrants from other countries, after what, a year and a day, they're already able to become citizens. We need a clear pathway to citizenship that does not take 2 decades, and we can make that happen. The issue is that we need an advocate in the forefront that is fighting day and night. The fight stops and then it dwindles. It starts and then it dwindles. It needs to start and never stop. But what I tell people all the time is, who's going to fight harder for the Haitian community than the Haitian community? We have to come together, and we need to say that we are not going to stop until this pathway to citizenship is clear, concise, and it is available in a short amount of time.
Thank you so much. So Ketley, immigration is obviously not something that a city commissioner can tackle, right, in the broad sense, but certainly there are other issues that affect our communities at the local level. What are some of those issues, and how do you plan to address them?
Thank you for asking this question. I have to remind you all that I've been here since in the 70s, where right now I would say we have it great. When I first came to Miami, I first arrived, immigration used to be at your door around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, knocking on doors and literally drag you to Crum. So I've been I have been in the forefront of this fight. First with ACAT Service Center, okay, as a child when I first arrived, and they would not allow me to go to school, where I have to say that Claude Charles and fought Miami-Dade County Public School to allow us to go to school. I have been in the forefront of equal pay, more or less marching with Danny Glover here with ACIU 1199. I have been everywhere you can think of. And that sent me to Tallahassee with Kendrick Meek when my daughter was in public school here in Miami-Dade County. Although at that time I had sent her to a private school, but she's my only child. Her name is Betty Myrtle. I'm very proud. She's a lieutenant colonel. I have to plug this in the United States Army. But I wanted to make sure that not only herself, but other students, other children had the right to go to whatever school they wanted to go to and have the best. As a mom, I have been advocating. In North Miami Beach, I've always been in the forefront of it, where we had a mayor by the name of Jeffrey Mishkin, who had a textile company in Haiti. But he knows about us in Haiti. He lived in Haiti with his children. Whenever something happened, I was the first person he would end up reaching out to. Ketley, what do we need? At the time, we used to bottle our own bottled water in the city of North Miami Beach. And I used to work closely with Haitian Women of Miami. And I became a member of Haitian-American Grassroots Coalition. We would be downtown, okay, protesting. And so North Miami Beach would be giving me the water for us to hydrate down there. So North Miami Beach, I have been advocating not just for the Haitian community. Wherever there's a wrong, I've always been there. That's one of the reason why I am a member of the Beautification Board in North Miami Beach, the Library Board, Commission, Code Enforcement Board, because as I realized that a lot of our Haitian residents get cited a lot because for the lack of knowing. Because there's a place in the Bible say, if my people should perish for the lack of knowledge. Well, it does happen a lot here because the people, they do not have the time to attend these meetings. And I have to tell you, we have pretty long meetings. They run past midnight in the city of North Miami Beach. So I'm always at these meetings. If I leave City Hall at around 11 o'clock, I'm back at my house watching on channel 77 and is texting with the commissioners. So I know all too well the problem that the Haitian community and immigrants face, because I've always been one that out there protesting, whether for our children, advocating for the children, the elderly. We do have a situation here in North Miami Beach where you can have programs, but our elderly Haitian community are not aware of it because they will not leave their home. And you need transportation for them to attend some of these programs. They want someone to pick them up and bring them back home. So once I'm elected, these are the type of things I intend to work with my colleagues to explain and to help them see that, not every community is the same. Each community have their own needs, and we need to really start looking out for different communities, not just one group, but everyone in the city of North Miami Beach.
Thank you. COVID-19 has completely changed how our children are learning. And obviously we just talked, Narnik, about some of the challenges that they'll face because of it, but we also know that some children were having significant issues even before then. So do you have plans to address those issues even after this pandemic is over and things go back to quote unquote normal?
Thank you so much for the question. So we have a myriad of issues that's going to come out of this COVID. Every summer we have a summer slide because the kids are out of school, and now we couple that with the COVID slide. So we're going to have a lot of children who will need extra help. One of the things that the district has been discussing is how they're going to go about doing testing. Currently, right now, testing is scheduled for the same if we were in school. But once elected, I would like for us to reevaluate that. And it has to be done by a case by case basis. I know that we can't. I know we cannot do this across the board, because while some of our kids, which could be a small percentage, will struggle, the rest of them are able to kind of find themselves in a position where they could, follow along. One of the plans that I was thinking about was really seeing that, and I know that the commissioner has changed some of the ways of how some of the new standards now, hoping like we can maybe institute those standards currently instead of trying to slowly integrate it. Because right now it would give the kids the opportunity to learn like how we used to go to school. When we used to go to school, it wasn't really based off testing. Right now, teachers teach for the kids to take the test rather than giving them a holistic view of education. So I'm hoping that I can implement a plan where we look at school and education holistically. That way the kids don't feel the pressure of trying to make the mark in terms of testing, as well as these high-stake testings also affect teachers. And so we know that we have a good percentage of Haitian teachers in this district, and we want to make sure that they're not, forced into a position where they have to put these kids in an uncomfortable position to get the grade. So the goal is to implement a plan where we move away from the high-stake testing and look at education in a holistic view. And then in 2022 and 2023, we can probably integrate these kids back, but in a position where they will not skip a beat. So that's the goal. There's a lot of intricacies that go to that, and it's kind of hard to explain it. But the goal is to make sure that the students don't lose anything, but then they don't lose anything, and then they're not penalized.
Right, they fall further behind.
Yeah, further behind. So we want to work with them at their pace also. I don't believe in rushing a child and because of COVID, that has no one could have thought this was going to happen. And for us to kind of get our way back, we really need to give those kids that ample time to get there, but in a way that they don't skip a beat, where they don't get to have to be, held back or anything like that. We can work with them, even if they go to the next grade, that we do provide them that extra service to get them where they need to be.
Awesome. If COVID-19 has shown us anything, I think that the need for access to healthcare was a big revelation to many people, even though many others have known that there are people out there who have not been able to access affordable healthcare in years. So Christine, what do you plan to do once in Congress to ensure that Americans don't have to suffer from lack of access to affordable healthcare?
Single payer Medicare for all. That is what I am advocating for. That is what I believe in. I agree that it is long overdue. This district, a quarter of this district is uninsured. 25%, that is a lot of people that do not have insurance. And now that was before COVID. Now think of the people that have lost their job. Remember, they got their insurance through their job. We need more than ever Medicare for all. I watched my uncle, I love our Haitian men. They're so prideful, right? And when they're sick, they don't go to the doctor. My uncle did not go to the doctor. He was sick for 6 months. I forced him in my car. I drove him to the hospital. Stage 4 colon cancer at that point. But did I give up? No. I fought. I got him the insurance, the best insurance that we could get for him, being that he was now he had a existing condition. It gave him 3 extra years, but he would still be here right now. Had he have just said, you know what? I don't have to worry about paying to go to the doctor. So there is nothing else that is more important right now. We need to fight for Medicare for all. And what I tell everyone, it's going to raise our taxes and do this. We pay taxes for the things that matter to us. We pay taxes to provide services that we can all benefit from. We can do this, but we've got to work together, and we need to stop giving power to the healthcare industry, to these medical organizations that are just taking, these corporations that are taking money. The prescriptions are high, everything's high, and it's like you're basically just living to die in America, and it should not be a punishment for you to want to go and fight for your life. So that being said, Medicare for all.
What about you, Narmi? I know at the school board level, obviously you're not addressing healthcare in that sense, but we do know that with a lot of our students, mental health concerns have to be something that we address in a meaningful way. And I think even with what has happened, and when we think about the fact that schools were a safe haven for some children, just mental health and their well-being is extremely important. How do you plan to address mental health at the school board level?
Great question. So in one of my forums in the past, one of the things that I would love to implement and to take some of the pressure off of our guidance counselors and our school psychologists is put in the curriculum a mental health class. And what I mean by that is, when your kids are in class, they have like art, reading, music. That will be an extra class that every single child has to go to. Obviously, it will be age appropriate from K to 12. And it's a class that it will touch every single student several times a week. I think that it's important that kids have that opportunity to be in a classroom and in a setting with peers, and they don't feel uncomfortable talking about their feelings, and where it's a safe place. I don't think it's fair that we put that on our teachers. They're not trained for that. They're trained to be there and caring and nurturing, but they're not trained in mental health to get these kids. And so some of the things that the district is implementing is social and emotional learning, wonderful program. However, it's incumbent upon the teacher to kind of touch on it here and there. With a class like this, that every single child gets to go through, not only helps the student, but it also helps the administration to kind of identify some of these kids when they're having some of these crises and issues. And we're able to kind of collaborate together within the school network. Because you're right, some of these schools are safe havens for kids. And that was one of my issues when I was growing up. And so to have a class there where you have a mental health professional teaching the class that is age appropriate, who is licensed to teach grade levels or age level, excuse me, it will help and alleviate some of the issues that we're dealing with. And obviously, as the kids get older in middle school and high school, you would provide more classes, but every single child gets touched. And it's important that we work together with faith-based organizations and outside organizations to come into to do some mentoring and be an extra support on top of the mental health. So the goal is to implement that into the curriculum. I know the district is working on a couple of things, but I would like to see something implemented into the curriculum. And it's something that we can all work together. The same way they galvanize and worked out this e-learning, they can galvanize and work out a mental health strategy to put into place. Not just waiting on the kids to meet one person and how they have it. It's really staggered right now. And so I'm really excited about that. I know I've been putting it out there, so they probably took some of my stuff, but that's okay. And I'm good with that. I just want that to be something that's implemented and sooner rather than later. With this COVID, a lot of kids are stir crazy. Some of them really are having a rough time dealing with it. So the faster we can make something where the kids will be able to release, the better.
Awesome. We know that gun violence has been and is an issue that has and continues, right, to plague us in different ways, especially that, we've seen what that's done during this pandemic. And I think it's important for us to know where you, Christine, stand on that issue and what you believe needs to be done to actually keep us safe.
We need, number one, common sense gun reform. And what that means is no more person-to-person sales. You can't just sell a gun to your neighbor, to your friend. You need to go to a database where they can do a place where they have a database. They can do a background check. I believe in licensing. I firmly believe in our Second Amendment right. I have my concealed license, but I also believe there should be a license, period. Not just to carry a concealed weapons. To own a gun, you should have a license. There should be a database. And there needs to be a database that also includes your mental health. If you are a domestic violence offender, you should not have a gun. These are the things that we can put in place right now that can help and stop this pandemic of gun violence. Number one. Number two, we need mental health care in the community. Our young men and women, they are suffering mentally. They are dealing with things, especially in Dade County. There's a lot of trauma. You grow up with it. I know firsthand. Okay, so what I'm saying is we need to bring funding into our communities so that we can provide complementary mental health care. Our children, our men, our women, they need to be able to talk to somebody before resorting to violence. Everyone's so angry because they don't know what to do. We also need to raise the minimum wage. How is that connected to gun violence? There's a lot more violence happening in the streets when people are desperate. They don't know where their next meal is going to come from. They feel like, well, they've lost everything anyway. It's all connected. It's not even about fixing the system. Forget the system. Break the system. We need to establish new rules in our community, especially as Haitian Americans, but African Americans in general. We need to stand up and say, this will not be our story anymore. We are not going to keep killing each other. We lost a 7-year-old girl a few weeks ago. 7 years old. That should not be happening, especially with the elected officials that we've had in office for so long. This should have been tackled a long time ago. So we need to do something drastic. And that's why I say common sense gun reform, mental health care, and let's help our families. Let's raise the minimum wage. Let's start talking about universal basic income. Let's have these conversations and let's get money into the families that need it. so that we can stop hurting each other and start living our lives to the fullest.
Thank you. Kelly, how do you think that public safety can be addressed at the municipal level?
Okay. I've always been the type of person that goes out there and research and get involved before I start telling others do this. I remember years ago when I first moved here in the city of North Miami Beach, there was a situation where a police officer shot this man in the wheelchair in the back. There were rioting going on. And so what I decided to do, I went to the Citizens Police Academy. In order for me to go through that 18, I think it was 18 or 22 week training, for me to really realize what it takes for, how do they train these police officers? Why do they do the things they do? I've always been the type of person, even as a mom who was raising an only child, a girl, I wanted to make sure that her school, everything was safe. Here in the city of North Miami Beach, at one time we had 12 gangs. It's unacceptable, and most of these gangs were Haitians, okay? This type of violence, I understand, and that's why I went and become a guardian ad litem, where I advocate for children who are abused and neglected in the system, because I realized that I went to court one day to translate for someone and realized this parent, she was standing there and was smiling, and the judge thought that she was being rude and she couldn't understand what was happening. I had just finished my training as a guardian ad litem and I took on the case. This lady went through abuse. She was a survivor of domestic violence and she was raising these children and 4 kids by herself. And so therefore, one day she came home and one of them got out of control and she whacked him. And then he went to school and there was a mark on his back. And next thing you know, they took all the children. I went through the system with Elda and trying to get help for her to get these children back. Eventually, Elda got deported back to Haiti. Was one of the earthquake we had, she left here and went to visit her family. And coming back, they look at her record and realize and say, you're a criminal, and send her back. So I've always been the type of person that get involved and advocate to make sure that this community, you know, have a voice. In the city of North Miami Beach, before other cities had overseeing board and things like this, we got a group together where every month we meet with the police department to get the stats and figure out what is happening in our area to make sure that the citizens work closely with the police department. So our people, everyone gets heard. And I'm the only Haitian on that board. So these are the type of things that we need in our community because no one wants to talk about mental health. I've heard this thing that, oh, there's no such thing as a crazy Haitian. Yeah, there's nuts and all this. My sister is a school teacher down in Little Haiti. And every day these children come to school. And you can look at it, look at their eyes and see what they're going through. COVID-19 has affected not just the parents, but these kids. Because they don't understand, they don't know what is happening. And no one is going to sit and explain why you are not going to school, why you cannot go outside with a mask, why all this is happening. Our community is a community that needs someone that is prepared, that's been advocating and make sure that they get what they need, to make sure they are included. This is a time where all 3 of us, ladies, we go out there and make sure that this community, people hear what we say, but not just hear us, but hold our hands and get together with us for us to help this community. Because our community, they go out there and vote, but a lot of them don't have time to really get involved. They rather go and say, oh, Miss Ketley, you go get the information and give it to me. Because who's gonna stay at a meeting that ends at 12:30 in the morning? They cannot do this. And their main of information is through the radio station. So our men don't know, a lot of them don't know how to treat these women. These women don't know how to treat themselves, let alone the men that they live with. nor the children. So we are in a foreign country and we're doing the best we can. So here in the city of North Miami Beach, I've always been there advocating for the betterment of everyone living in the city of North Miami Beach, but most of all to make sure that the Haitian community have a voice, someone that can tell them what is happening. And I thank God that I have a radio program where I'm able to tell them daily what is happening. And we do. We need to stand together. We cannot have this divisiveness between us. We need to go together as one. And this is what a lot of communities always know, that we are not united. And so they will swoop in and divide us. And then we never get anything that we were promised. But we must stay strong, stay together, because with this COVID-19, we cannot afford to lose anymore.
Thank you. Narni, what about within the schools? What do we need to be doing to keep our children safe at school?
I think one of the main things that we need to be doing as a Haitian community is to get educated. A lot of our people are really busy with working, many working 2 and 3 jobs to try to make ends meet. Just like Christine said, we don't have a living wage. And because of that, we're forced to be working so many jobs and so many odd hours. And so there's no one in the home to kind of be there for the children. But one thing I do know is that the district is a public school, so there's resources there. And I think that we don't have enough outreach to let parents know, especially our Haitian parents, that there are services for them that can help them along the way. So the goal is to make sure that we don't just have paraphernalia in Creole. We need to have somebody specifically there, and not just one person, several different avenues that Haitian parents and their children can be able to access. There's so much untapped accessed resources in the district. And when you tell a Haitian parent, oh, you could have done this, and they're like, well, I didn't even know that was thing that was available to me. So the goal is to, just make sure that we make sure that we have a lot of information available to them and go specifically to those areas. As an at-large member, I'm able to go everywhere, which is great because that's the best platform to be on. So the goal is to make sure that I do a tour and really pay close attention to where my Haitian community are located and let them know these things are available to you. And I think another thing that parents don't know, especially those who are here and they brought their kids and their papers are not right, they need to understand that the district has nothing to do with that. And whatever services they need, they can still say, hey, I don't have a social security number, or I don't have a specific address, and not have to worry about the government coming to look for them. These services do not include those things. We don't go out and give that information. We're precluded from doing that. So that's one of the things. I think education is very, very important, that the parents understand that there is resources there and they don't need to be afraid to ask for it. But again, I know my people, and if you're not speaking in Creole, I don't know what you're telling me. There's that trust factor. And so you have to drill it, just like with doing the census. I noticed that with our people, like if you tell them, it doesn't matter if they know your address, we just need the numbers. They don't understand that. But if I say to you in Creole and I said, listen, I know that you're not gonna be in trouble, there's a little bit more, they'll tend to be a little bit more to come in and dip their toe in the water a little bit to kind of venture out. So the goal is to really saturate the district and let them know that, listen, there are resources for you, and these are the resources. And then another thing is that Haitian people don't like the minutia. All this extra stuff, you need to be directly and straight to the point. And the district does not do a good job of doing that. There's a way to deal with that culture, and they have to be culturally sensitive with us, and they're not doing that. And so that's one of the things that I want to bring into the district, so they can understand we are there to help you. But if they see, I hope and pray that when I get elected, that they see that there's a Haitian person who will be talking Creole on a dais, so their Haitian people can understand that there's somebody out there advocating for them.
I think Christine alluded to this earlier, and you're kind of saying it now, and we talked about this in earlier panels, but this is what we mean when representation matters, right? We need people who understand the communities to understand what their apprehensions will be. We need people who understand, this is how I have to communicate this information, because while this sentence means this in literal English, in Creole, it doesn't translate the same way. And I've got to explain just a little bit more to make sure that they understand that that's not what that's saying. So thank you so much for really pointing that out. So as we come to a close, I really want to talk about voter engagement specifically within the Haitian community. What do you believe that we as a community need to do to really mobilize the Haitian-American electorate, not only in these elections, but the general elections? So when I say these elections, the primaries, but also the general elections and beyond. So Ketley, we'll start with you.
Oh, thank you. Again, my name is Ketley Joachin, and I'm running for commission seat in the city of North Miami Beach, Group 3. I think that the Haitian community feel disrespected. They feel that we come to them, knock on their doors every time there's an election. After that, because their main information come from the radio station, they feel that we do not come back to the radio station and talk to them and bring them the information. Our community is a community that would like for us to bring them whatever it is. They do not feel that they should go out there and go get it. And like each community is completely different, but our Haitian community, in order for you to really engage them, you must make sure this time around, even with COVID, I was out there and case in point, I met this gentleman who was just dropping leaflet. And he called me and he said, why should I vote for you? Then we had a conversation. He said, well, you need to go and knock on their door. And I'm going, well, not everyone wants to open their door and talk to you. He said, why? And I'm going, COVID-19. COVID what? So what? Elle parle ensemble avec eux. Elle frappe dans porte yo, Dieu ouvert porte là, besoin parler ensemble avec eux, ça ici quoi tout. They don't seem to understand. Yeah, COVID is here, but like my nephew yesterday dropped a bomb on me, and he said, "Oh, ou connaît pas, ça va passer. Nous, comment COVID la pas entre sous haïtien." Say, where'd you get this? This was in his 30s, and he's talking about, oh, this thing doesn't affect us. You know us. We buy haïtien, no get that, but it's not. They feel disrespected, and once you come to them, they feel that they have you family, and they can call you at midnight if needed. Whatever information, you should be there. So we who are going out there knocking on these doors and asking community to come and vote, we must be accessible. Even if you have to get a second phone, but you must be accessible. We must promise that we can come to these radio stations once a month and give them updates. They need updates, and that's why nous toujours tendez, bah voter pour haïtien, ça y a pas le fait pour moi-même. Haïtien va venir parler, va venir retourner là. So we must make sure that we break this cycle. We keep our word to this community. We come, we go knock on your door and ask you to vote, and you take the time to go out there and vote. We must make sure that we are accountable. Accountability. Thank you.
So to be clear, I want to know what we need to do to actually mobilize people to get engaged to become very engaged voters. So Christine?
Okay.
So I asked my aunt that, right? I called my aunt and I said, I need you to vote for me. She goes, I'm going to vote for you. Obviously, you're my niece, but you can't just say that to every Haitian. I said, why? She goes, you need to give me a reason to vote for you. So when you ask me, what can we do? We need to give them a reason, because the Haitian community is tired. Last week, I brought a truck full of free food in the middle of Little Haiti and just started passing it out. They were so grateful. And when they turned around and said, are you going to come back? That was the first thing. They're like, oh, so you want us to vote for you? You're doing this now, but are you going to come back? And I said, I promise you, I will come back. But words mean what? Nothing. They need to see it. We need to be transparent. I just signed a deal with a company called Phoenix Voting. What they do is, it is a transparency platform. All the constituents will be able to see the bills that are placed on my desk and the bills that I have co-signed that I'm creating, and you can vote along with me. They're not real votes. They're real for me, so that way I know how you feel and which way I should be voting, right? But it's community engagement. It's like saying, okay, before our representatives will just take matters into their own hands, but now I'm going to involve you in the process, and that's the steps that I'm taking. I do things differently, right? Um, long story short, those of you who are don't read the Bible, it doesn't matter. It's a great story. David and Goliath. When David was about to go fight Goliath, the king said, "Put on the soldier's armor." Right? David was a shepherd boy. He wrestled lions, bears. He didn't need the armor. It felt uncomfortable to him. What did he do? He took the armor off, and in his shepherd's clothes, he slayed the Goliath. So I say that to say, I'm not running a campaign. When people say, "Oh, I'm tired of politicians," I'm not every politician. I'm not wearing that same armor. I'm doing this differently. I'm doing this my way. This is different. This is not what you've ever seen before. And we can take down a giant, but we've got to do this the way we know how, as everyday people fighting for everyday people. So vote for me, Christine Alexandria Olivo, November 3rd.
Thank you so much. So one of the things I know about my Haitian people, they want commitment, right? And when I say commitment, like, you need to be committed. Don't say you're gonna come and you don't show up. I just got a phone call from someone else and he was like, "You said you was coming and you didn't come," or whatever. And I was like, "Yeah, I know, and I'm just the only one doing it." They don't want to hear excuses. If you say something, mean what you say what you mean. And so to get our people to come out and vote, those electorate, our group, and the wonderful group that you have, Vanessa, has to be committed. And when I say committed, we don't just show up when we need them to vote. We show up all year, we show up all month, we show up every week, but they need commitment. And I know with Haitian people, commitment, when you say, "Oh, leaving chaque semaine," it's like clockwork for them. And it's something that's very important, because they'll tell you, "Oh, no, me parle avec me, leaving chaque semaine." And so it's so important that we're committed. So I think for our people, we have to be committed, not just those who are running for office, but everybody else who are elected officials. You need to be committed to your people, and they need to know that you're able to be touched. You're able to be, you all shock them with it, because you're just like an immigration attorney. You keep calling and you don't answer the phone. They make a big deal about that. So you have to be committed, and in your commitment, your word is your bond. When it comes to Haitian people, your word is your bond. And if you don't commit, if you don't say, "I get elected to the board," and you said, "Well, you said you was going to have all these Haitian people come," whatever, I got to deliver on that. So commitment and delivery, we need to follow through. And I think if we push that, and if we cultivate that, and if that is our platform, I promise you our people will come out in droves. But we just have to be committed with them. And they need to be felt, they need to feel valued, right? When you feel valued, you're ready to do whatever. And Haitian people need to understand that they make a significant difference in voting. There are a huge voting bloc, and I think that African Americans who are not Haitian and others take us for granted, and that's one of the things that really upsets them. So we have to go into the nook and crannies. We have to go into those little places, like Caitlin said, and we have to be committed. And I think that we can do this. I think moving forward with this great organization, I think that is a great possibility. And we just have to really dig in and make sure that they know that we're there for them.
Awesome, thank you. We actually had a question, and it was, how does the current climate, how has it shaped your advocacy? But I think you all brought that out in terms of having to shift the ways that you engage with people, especially now. So, they asked a more direct question. So here we go. Did everything that happened this year, COVID-19, Black Lives Matter movement, and civil unrest, push you to become more aggressive in your approach in advocacy and politics? Kathleen?
Well, I have 2 male grandchildren, and I'm always around kids. And they don't live in Florida, they live in Virginia. Their parents are military. And I've seen it all the time around here in Florida, things that happen. And remember, I told you that was one of the reasons after that gentleman got shot, pushed me to went to the police academy to see exactly what is happening. Yes, a Black Lives Movement. I think that it's about time. I think George Floyd death has opened a lot of people's eyes to see exactly what happens behind closed doors, how some of these Black men get killed inside these jails, how our children who are in juvie, what is happening to them, because we have the worst juvenile system. As a guardian ad litem, I have seen it day in, day out. I think that with the Black Lives Matter movement, it has opened a lot of people's eyes to see when you are just fed up and you are asking for someone to listen, what can be done. When we all get together as one, forget about the skin color, when everyone just saying what is happening is wrong, that means that you need to start listening, because what we've been doing in this country for years, it's not working. It's time to change the system. Yes, it has opened my eyes to the things that I was doing before and will push me further, because my 2 Black grandchildren, I want to make sure that what has happened to George Floyd doesn't happen to anyone's child, because that was hurtful to just see this happening right in front of your eyes, and you couldn't reach out and do something about it.
Marnie?
Well, I've always been aggressive, so that didn't change. That didn't change me at all. What it did, it made me more determined to make sure that that we get where we need to be, because I'm tired of being sick and tired. So I've always been aggressive in my approach. Black Lives Matter movement has only just fueled everything that I've already had. I think someone said when on a campaign trail that it was like, oh, white people would vote for you, but you're just too pro-Black. Okay. All right. What I would like to add on that, I'm too pro-Haitian. I want to add that on too. So we'll do that. We'll combine the both. But yes, I've always been aggressive. I think that COVID-19 has made me, well, for all of us, has exposed a lot of insecurities that we have. And hopefully Christine wins and she exposes all the insecurities for what it is. Well, she is an atmosphere. You win it, girl. Yeah. So this has just given me more fuel to still be on top of that, to still make sure that, while I understand that all lives matter, but Black lives matter. And they've always mattered. And I think that we as Haitian Americans and as well as Black people need to always highlight the contributions that we make in this country. And it's always neglected, it's always looked over. Our ancestors came here and built this country for free. And we are here and we're still getting the bad end of the stick. And unfortunately, our Haitian-American communities get the bad end of the stick because we're not looked at as part of that group, unfortunately. And that's a whole nother story for a different day. But it's important that we are aggressive. And aggressiveness doesn't necessarily needs to be adversarial. It just needs to be projected in a way that this is what we want and this is what we're going to have. And then if you don't like it, too bad, this is where we're going to be and we're not changing course. So I'm excited about that, and I'm proud to say that I am aggressive.
Christine?
Wow, that's amazing. I really am honored to be in this panel. For me, you can tell, like, I've lost my voice. I have been at the polling, at the precincts all week, screaming, please vote. I'm not on this ballot. I'm running as a non-party affiliate. So I'm in November. I'm supporting other candidates, because that is what this is. What COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter, what all this has done for me, it has made it not just more aggressive, it has made it life or death for me. Before all of this happened, I was aggressive. I was out there. I've been running since 2018. So I've been, networking, doing my thing. This hit, all of a sudden, the intensity changed. And now it's life or death. I am out there, I'm advocating for other people, because I believe it's not just one person that's going to make the change. We need to support the collective. So even though Tuesday is not my election, I'm fighting for our lives now, because we need to elect more people. It can't just be me. It can't just be Narnik. It can't just be Ketley. It can't just be Vanessa. It has to be all of us together. So, yes, the answer is yes. And it's only going to get more intense as we get closer because we are not losing this. We cannot accept another term, period. We need the change now. Time's up.
Thank
Your
you.
seat ain't safe. Bye.
So we'll just go ahead and take any last words, Narnik. Just in less than a minute, please.
Yes. So I want to thank you so much to the N8HP for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you for sharing, being an opportunity to share this space with such amazing women. I'm just excited about them. I'm getting goosebumps. Again, my name is Narnik Grant, Narnik Pierre Grant, but on the ballot, if you're in Broward, it's going to be Narnik Nikki Grant. If you want to change and you want a first Haitian American on this board, we're all first, and this is my first time running. I just want you to just really dig deep and think about the status quo and what differences the new breed can bring in. And we will not disappoint. We're all about accountability and transparency. That's one of my top tier things. And so I'm looking for making sure that you vote. And when you do vote and you vote for me, know that you can call me out any chance you get, because I'm all about that. I'm all about putting it on the table. So look forward from now until August 18th. I look forward to that. And these wonderful ladies, thank you so much again. I pale in comparison to you women. I am just honored to be in your space. And I thank you so much for the opportunity.
We don't have to minimize our light to make others shine, all right? So
thank you. Someone has to always remind me about that. Thank you so much.
Kelly, last words, less than a minute.
Oh, I would like to thank this wonderful organization for this invitation and these two beautiful women, and you as well, Miss Vanessa. We are so proud of you for the things you have been doing down in North Miami. I am very, very proud of you. I am running for commission seat group 3. That's an open seat in the city of North Miami Beach. It's an at-large position. Anyone can vote for me in November, as long as you have a black garbage can and you live in the city of North Miami Beach. Again, I am thankful for this organization. I am thankful for the city of North Miami Beach because it has opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I will continue to advocate for all in the city of North Miami Beach. I am here. I am your servant. My number is 786-252-2479. You can call me anytime and leave me a message. If you don't reach me, it's because I'm out there helping someone else. And then Christine, who I see every Wednesday, because we are out there. There's a church close by my house on 166 Northeast 2nd Avenue, where we're cooking food every Saturday and every Wednesday. Christine and we out there doing the best we can to take care of this community. So anything, if you live in the city of North Miami Beach or you're listening to this program and you know someone that is in need, you may call me. I will do the best I can. Thank you for this platform.
Thank you. Christine?
Thank you so much, NAAHP, for allowing us to be in this space. Thank you, ladies, for having me. I met some new people. I'm very excited. You can find me at christineforcongress.org. Facebook and Instagram is Christine for Congress. Twitter is Christine FOR24, Christine 424. Vote for me on November 3rd as your next Congresswoman. And Narnik and Ketley, if you can just let me know where you'll be this weekend. My husband got me a blowhorn. He says I can't use my voice anymore. I will come to you. Sunday, I'll be in Broward already. So Narnik, if you just tell me where you're at, I'm coming.
Merci.
How beautiful. I love to see it. So before I let you all go, I want to remind everyone to complete the 2020 census if you have not already done so. It is fast, it is simple, and extremely important. So go to my2020census.gov today to complete your census, and make sure your friends, families, neighbors, and colleagues do so as well. I also want to remind you that in Broward and Miami-Dade County, early voting is underway, and election day for the primary elections is August 18th. So if you have not already submitted your vote by mail ballot or your mail-in ballot, I strongly encourage you to fill it out and actually drop it off at one of the polling locations in your county. And of course, these candidates need your help. Yesterday was the last day to donate to, I believe, Narnique's campaign. You can still donate to Christine and to Ketley. And if you haven't already done so, I urge you to make a contribution, because that's how we help our favorite candidates win. No amount is too small. Every single dollar goes a long way within a campaign, probably further than your actual dollar would go in your pocket. So if you can't donate, make sure you volunteer for however long you can, a few hours to a few days to the entire few months would be amazing to these candidates. It's so important for us to really get fully involved in campaigns, especially when we believe in the candidate. Thank you to all of you ladies who took the time out of your very busy schedules to join us here this evening. A huge thank you to each and every single one of you who tuned in this evening to learn more about these candidates, their platforms, and their visions for the communities that they represent or will be representing. And finally, an even bigger thank you to our sponsors who made this possible. My family over at Chocarella, PG Mix, Golden Bee Inc., and of course, the Haitian-American Voters Empowerment Have Coalition, who is also hosting a virtual fundraiser tomorrow, Saturday, August 15th at 6:30. So please grab a friend. That's 6:30 Eastern, by the way. So grab a friend, grab a drink, and join us to learn how you can join the movement to inform, empower, and engage the Haitian Americans living all around the United States and abroad. So to RSVP, please visit havecoalition.org/events. I know Narnique's going to be there, and I hope Christine can make it. Ketley, you're welcome too. And we'll be trying to add more of these sessions. So if you are a Haitian American candidate for elected office in the United States, or you know of a Haitian American candidate that has not yet been featured, please reach out to NAAHP to submit your name for one of the upcoming panels. It has been a pleasure serving as your moderator. And once again, my name is Vanessa Joseph, and I hope to see you again soon. So have a wonderful evening and great weekend. And good luck.
Good